Don't Starve is a perfect game. It has a world that is so well crafted that it feels real, an atmosphere so gripping that you can't help but get immersed, even though there are like fucking creatures walking around wherever you go. It makes you feel that amazement you used to feel as a kid whenever you were playing a new game, and it's got that mystical magic that old games have. But how does Don't Starve do it? Let's think back to the good old days. Days when getting a new game was always exciting, and days when new memories were formed playing them. Days when they seemed so incredibly fucking magical. Just what made these experiences so magical? Was it that the games were better? Was it that these games had like more love baked into them? Was it that you spent all evening immersed in them? Was it perhaps that as children we simply see the world in a more magical way? A few months ago I also believed that those answers held most of the explanation for this lack of magic in most modern games. But as I've played Don't Starve more and more, I've realized that that definitely isn't the case. While these thoughts might hold part of the answer, I don't think they explain it fully. To me, right now, Don't Starve has that magic, and I believe I've figured out why. Unpredictability. What about unpredictability adds to the magic of a game? Well, have you ever played Minecraft? No, not like that. I mean, did you ever play it as a kid before you knew everything about the game? If you did, do you remember finding a cave, preparing, and trying to overcome the anxiousness of exploring it? You knew it'd be worth it because there'd be coal and iron, resources that you desperately needed. And hell, maybe, if you were lucky enough, you'd find something even more rare, even more mesmerizing. But it was dark, it was dangerous, unexplored territory. It was unpredictable. Nowadays we know exactly what we should expect to deal with when caving in Minecraft. But back then it was an adventure. It was unpredictable. And that made it terrifying. It allowed the fear of the unknown to fester, to grow, to create tension, build anxiety, and most importantly, anticipation. This unpredictability is lost when you understand a game. But furthermore, it is lost when you understand games as a whole. When you know what HP is, when you know what's outside of invisible walls, when you know what enemies are and how they
not how that works.
Generally work, when you know how games are designed. This knowledge or understanding destroys the simple unpredictability of most games. Most games follow a set of rules that you've seen somewhere else before. But you can prevent this. In Don't Starve, most creatures are new to you, at least somewhat new. Frogs that try to kill you, gigantic tall birds, pigmen that follow you around and help you out if you feed them certain foods. And you know... other players. At some point you might realize that it's getting dark, and you really don't know what's out there. The deep darkness threatens to engulf you, and it's so dense that you can't see anything outside of your light source. You might even feel like something's gonna jump out of the darkness right at you. You'll eventually survive until you hear the howls in the distance. You'll eventually survive until you hear the trees creaking. You'll eventually survive until you hear metal churning. You'll eventually survive until you start getting cold. and you'll eventually survive until you hear breathing, accompanied by the ground shaking. For the time I've been playing the game, it feels like it just continues to throw new problems, creatures, mysterious places, and suspicious items my way. I know this will eventually end, and I know that all of these surprises will be gone if I spoil the game's contents for myself. But right now it's here. Right now I can feel the magic caused by the unpredictability of Don't Starve. For now, there's still a lot left to explore, experience, and take in slowly. Don't Starve is probably the game I've played the longest without discovering enough of a game and its contents to make it predictable. It's still pretty fresh a couple hundred hours into it, and that is an incredible achievement. Soul. What is Soul? That's a difficult question to answer. You might be able to say that a game has soul if the developers are willing to work on it without the chance of fame and fortune. You might be able to say that when a game is still getting new content, fixes, and updates years and years after its original release, it has soul. Those might count as good hints as to whether or not a game has soul, but that's not definitive, and neither does it tell us what soul ultimately gives to a game. It could be interesting to tackle the idea of how to spot soul in a game, but that's not really the purpose of this video. Just trust me, okay? This game definitely has soul. The design, the artwork, the amount of time the devs have spent on this game, the number of details, just everything. Everything in Don't Starve exudes soul. Have you ever played a game that feels empty? A game that gives you the feeling that there's just nothing beneath the surface? A game that lacks depth, detail, content, choice, etc. Those are symptoms of a soulless game. You feel like you're playing a plastic game. A game that never draws you in with such immersion that you lose yourself in it. A game that you can play through once and then you forget all about it. A game that doesn't have any characters that don't feel completely one-dimensional. A game that is so linear and predictable that you have to turn off your brain completely in order to enjoy it. Don't Starve is nothing like those types of games. Don't Starve has such depth that you naturally start speculating about what anything and everything might truly be or mean. It has such detail that nothing in the game suffers from feeling plastic. It has enough content to create a living, breathing world, one that can immerse you for hours on end. It has the same amount of player choice and freedom as most other sandbox survival games, Minecraft, Terraria, so on. The soul of Don't Starve is the will, effort, and work that the devs displayed by giving each update, each speck of content, such care, quality, and depth. Well, most of the time. Genuinely though, it makes for an incredible game. Imagination. Imagination is the quality needed to bring any creation to life. Let's say you're going out with some friends to see a movie that just came out. You take your seat between a couple of your friends and settle in. After a bit of chatting, the lights in the room slowly go out and the movie starts. You're eventually introduced to the characters, the world, and the setting, and after a while you're hooked. Even if you believe that you're objectively taking the movie in, you're really not. If you're engaged in the plot to any extent, you'll realize that your imagination is running wild with ideas of what might happen next. When your imagination is doing that, it creates scenarios, creatures, or events that might never exist in the movie. This creates a sense of actually being there, and allows for an even deeper level of immersion. You can notice a difference by, for instance, thinking about a competitive shooter like CSGO and comparing it to some old childhood game that you used to play. When engaging with a game like CSGO, you don't wonder what kind of things or creatures might come around when the place gets dark. You don't wonder if there might be secret passages or rare mystical treasures underground. You don't wonder if there might be something in the sky, or if that something could be watching you. That is not part of the design of CSGO, since it would ruin or mess with the,
Fucking knew he was coming behind me too. I kept checking. I know how these guys play, bro. It's so obvious.
overall competitive experience. Don't Starve does a perfect job of using your thinking and imagination to its advantage. It uses strange noises, odd structures, pitch black darkness, mystical design choices, and nonsensical logic to make you think about and imagine its contents more. Where could danger come from? How could I deal with it? How do I get more food? What might this thing do? What could I craft with this? How do I make better weapons? What happens if I do this? If you knew the answers to these questions, it'd be boring. Allowing you to think and imagine on your own is a huge factor as to why you get so immersed and ultimately hooked.
This game,
Don't Starve,
is overwhelmingly positively reviewed, with not an insignificant number of reviews, but I can't figure out why. I looked at it, and unless my eyes deceive me, it is
an utter masterpiece of incredible proportion, made in an interesting style. Wow.
As unpredictability, soul, and imagination come together, you've found yourself an utter masterpiece. Don't Starve is a game that keeps you on your toes, has a high level of depth and detail to it, and allows or even requires your mind to run wild with thoughts, ideas, worries, speculation, and wonder. Don't Starve is a game that can immerse you to a level only very, very unique games are capable of. Don't Starve is a game that exemplifies atmosphere and immersion. It uses all these different aspects to such an extent that you feel like it's created a living and breathing world. A world that's almost as real as our own. Making a world that makes sense and that seems realistic is a massive challenge. But making one that can create the same mysteries, magic, unpredictability, and immersion as the real world is a challenge that is at a completely different level. And that's exactly why Don't Starve is perfect. But hey, that's just a theory. Yep. Well, anyways, if you happen to like the video, or if you have any thoughts you want to share, please hit down below. Like, dislike, comment, anything would help a fuck ton. And while you're down there, you see that big, and I mean big, red button? Go on, give it a little click. Anyways, thanks for watching.